Hey friends, so today I want to talk to you about sleep. This is a video I've been wanting to record for a long time, just hadn't gotten around to it. And literally every night when I go to bed and I go through the process of falling asleep, I'm like, I gotta do this video. So finally got time to do it. What I want to talk about is not the typical things that you hear about, make sure your room is dark, make sure you don't look at your phone at night before going to bed. Those things totally agree with. I think I've done a post before about kind of your nighttime routine, falling asleep at the same time every night, all of those things totally valid. What I want to talk about is this idea of not being able to fall asleep at night. It's something that I definitely struggled with, and I know a lot of people that do. And, and a lot of times we might think that we have insomnia for that matter. Now, if you've been diagnosed with insomnia, fine, that I'm not talking about a diagnosis, but just kind of that idea of like, I can't fall asleep at night. One of the things that I've noticed is that there are mainly two reasons why we have trouble falling asleep. One is fear. The fear that we won't be able to fall asleep. The fear that we won't get enough sleep. The fear around the fact that I won't get enough sleep because I've got to be up at 4 o'clock, I've got to be up at 6 o'clock. And so there's just this fear around sleeping. Maybe it's a fear, oh my gosh, what if I wake up in the middle of the night? What if I'm not going to be able to sleep through the whole night? And then coupled with that, stress and anxiety. So one, just the simple stress and anxiety of your day, the stress and anxiety of what's going to happen the next day, what you have to do the next day, what you didn't get done the day before. And then the stress and anxiety of not being able to go to sleep, especially when it's taking hours and hours and you're trying to make yourself fall asleep. So it's stressful, it's anxiety producing, and then there's again that fear that comes like, what happens if I don't fall asleep? So again, I've been through all of this, and I have found some ways through some meditations and everything, some guided meditations that have seemed to work for me. So I'm recommending it for you to try. So here goes. One thing is understanding that you will fall asleep within your own time. So that, trying to make yourself go to sleep is one, now that you've thought about not falling asleep, you've already brought in that fear of, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. Two, you're trying to make yourself fall asleep. We don't have to do that. We will fall asleep if we just allow ourselves to fall asleep in however long that's going to take. Okay. So just kind of relaxing with the idea that I will fall asleep. It might take an hour, it might take 5 minutes. So just kind of relaxing around that. The second thing is, we all probably deal with the ruminative thoughts and the thoughts that just keep coming into our head as we're trying to go to sleep. So what do? We try to tell ourselves not to think about them. Well, you can't not think about something that you're already thinking about because you're thinking about them. So the idea of trying to make yourself not have these thoughts is like working against yourself again. So allowing those thoughts to come. And a lot of times it's, for me, it's like going through all the things that I need to get done. Or, okay, I know I have this at 10, so I need to back that up. I need to bring that in, and I'll kind of work through what my wake up process is. And then I put it away. So there's a bunch of different meditations, guided meditations about maybe visualizing your thoughts as like little marbles. And every time they come up, you put them in the bag. And then at a certain point, you put that bag on a shelf. Or just letting them pass by like clouds. Or, thanks, noted. or literally having some sort of little notebook by you. Another thing I like to do is pray. Sometimes I literally just pray, and just that, thoughts are going to come up, and I'm going to trust that I will remember these things if it's necessary for me to remember these things when I need to remember them, and then let it go. Know that the thoughts will come, but you don't need to do anything about them. So once you've kind of allowed yourself to just relax around the idea that you will fall asleep, and then 2, just knowing that the thoughts are gonna keep coming. That's what our mind does. But we don't have to action on them. We don't have to try and figure things out. Now is a time to rest. This is our time to just relax and sleep. And we can deal with the other stuff later. Now, one thing that I have done to kind of offset those thoughts, because again, it's sometimes easier said than done to just let those thoughts go by. So to minimize all my ruminative thinking, I've mentioned this post before. I listen to a podcast of stories called Get Sleepy, but there's tons of other podcasts out there. I highly recommend these bedtime stories for adults. I mean, when we were kids, what did we want our parents to do? Read us a story so that we would go to sleep. And how many times did you fall asleep during that story? Well, why can't we do that as adults? So finding some sort of podcast or something that is these bedtime stories allows your mind to kind of focus on the story enough to keep you from thinking about other things, but not enough that you're going to get so engaged in that story that you can't fall asleep. Like I've mentioned in the post about this app that I listen to, I have yet to get to the end of a story because I always fall asleep. But I love the stories. I wish I could get to the end of them, but I always fall asleep because my mind gets put into this imaginary mode. You can do the same with like a guided meditation, maybe, to help you fall asleep. But something where your mind can start listening to something else rather than thinking about your thoughts, but not enough to become engaged. So those are a few little recommendations I have around getting a better night's sleep. Actually, I should not even say that. Just the act of falling asleep. And then usually that helps you get a better night's sleep. And then you can use the same process if you wake up in the middle of the night too. I have gone back and turned on my stories again when I wake up in the middle of the night to help me go back to sleep again. That way I don't have to think about, oh my gosh, now I need to wake up in an hour. I have to get back to sleep and start that whole cycle again. So those 3 things are: 1, just knowing that you will fall asleep in your own time. You will fall asleep. Do not worry about it. 2, the thoughts are gonna come. So let them pass. Let them come and let them go. Now's not the time to be trying to figure things out. Now's not the time to problem solve. And just trust that whatever is super important, you will remember in the morning or when the time is right. And then the 3rd thing is finding something to keep your mind engaged enough to not be thinking and focusing on other things, but not engaged so much that now you're listening or you're focusing on that. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know what you think. And again, there's a lot of research around this as well, hence the reason why there are so many meditations that guide you through this exact practice from start to finish. I will, over time, share that research, or if you have any questions about it, feel free to put something in the comments and I will be sure to share that with you. But I hope this is helpful. Thanks, guys, and hope you get a good night's sleep.